question without settling it than to settle a question without debating it. This is according to Joseph Hubert, French moralist and essayist. Very Reverend Father, ladies and gentlemen, you are all very welcome here tonight to our second annual debate. Like last year, I hope it promises to be as eventful, entertaining and a lively evening. I'm delighted to introduce our esteemed chairperson. Good evening, Mr. Brian O'Connell. Brian graduated from Castleknock in 1971, is the eldest son of Donal, class of 43. Brian also had two younger brothers. Adrian left in 73 and Michael in 75. After graduating from UCD, Brian spent 2 decades at RTE's as the RTE's London Correspondent, covering political, business, cultural relations between the UK and Ireland. Since leaving RTE in 2012, Brian has been very, very busy working with Concern Worldwide, the European Council on Foreign Relations, and in the run-up to the Brexit referendum as UK Consultant Director with the British and Irish Chamber of Commerce. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Brian O'Connell.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be back here. I did this last year, and I was wondering, hi Stephen, I did this last year, and I was wondering, I think I made a lot of claims of that. But then when I got the email asking me to do it again, I said, oh, it mustn't have been that bad. So anyway, we're back here again. Welcome to the college. It's great to see a good turnout again for the debate. We're going to have a great evening ahead with 2 fantastic teams, many of them Brady medal winners, the Brady medal for debating. These guys are at the top of their game. It's going to be enjoyable. Now, this is usually the sort of occasion when you hear that events like these are important in any education, and they are. They're not rote learning, it's a life skill. It's a willingness to hear the arguments of others and learning the ability to respond coherently. It is probably the essence of the principle of free speech, and recent events have probably made that principle even more precious. The election of Donald Trump, which we're going to hear about tonight, the rise of the far right in France, the way in which Europe has reacted to the refugees from the Syrian war. Brexit would be another one. I became involved, as you just heard, in the Brexit campaign on the Remain side last year. It's the first time I'd ever actually done anything like that since, apart from being a journalist. I'd covered election campaigns, I'd covered referendums. I'd never done it, not as a journalist. Speaking at public events and meetings, I remember coming home one evening and saying to my wife, Christ, I'm knackered. And she said, what are you talking about? You've done this for years. I said, yeah, but always as a journalist, where you're actually criticising somebody who's doing it probably better than you ever could anyway. And it did certainly gave me a new respect for politicians. On another level, the Brexit campaign did seem to me, from what I hear, the coverage here gave the same impression, a bit of a dialogue of the deaf. Many voters in Britain certainly complained that they were inundated with facts, they were bombarded and confused by the facts. Social media, this is just a personal view, particularly Twitter, was, I think, responsible for a lot of the acrimony that was generated by that campaign, and which still divides Britain today going into a general election. The so-called TV debates, again, a personal view, I thought were formulaic. They were an angry repetition, a repudiation of the views of the other, probably a pale imitation of what this should be like, what a proper debate is. And there is an irony in that, because people like Boris Johnson and Michael Gove know how to debate. They're both former presidents of the Oxford Union, which makes what we're going to hear tonight probably all the more important. So let's get to it. Let me just introduce the two teams. The motion is the House would welcome a visit by Donald Trump. Speaking for the motion, Alexander Farrell, who's a sixth-year student at the college here. He wants to read philosophy and history when he leaves either at Trinity or UCD. Shane Cassidy is a teacher here at the college. He teaches business and maths, and he's been very involved in coaching debaters here for quite a time. Patrick Farrell is a past man of the class of '93. Patrick won the Brady Medal for debating when he was in 5th year here in college in '92. He was an inter-pro rugby player at the school and sportsman of the year in his final year, and Patrick now works for AIB. And closing for the proposing team will be Myles Kirby. He's a past man, former house captain from the class of '94. Myles is a barrister and was winner of the Brady Medal in '93 and an All-Ireland winner of the '94 schools debate, and a multi-gold medal winner in debating throughout his time here. Opposing the motion, we have firstly Cian McGoldrick, who's a past man in the class of 2014. Cian's now studying law at Trinity and was a winner of the Brady Medal in 2013 and 2014. In fact, only 2 other students have done that. Won the medal back-to-back. There were Maurice Mason in 1980 and 81, and the late Walter Traynor back in 1939 and 1940, so quite an achievement. Secondly, we'll hear from Conall Phelan, I beg your pardon, who's a 6th year here at the college, a regular debater, hoping to do law possibly at DCU when he finishes. Jim McElroy is a past man of the class of 1998, and he teaches applied maths, and applied maths, is that right, Jim, at the college here. He used to be in charge of the Senior Debating Society, and he also was a winner of the Brady Medal, in his case, in 1998. And closing for the opposing team is Oisin Quinn at the end there, who's a past man from the class of 1986, and he's president-elect of the Castleknock Union. He was also a Brady Medal winner in 1986, is that right, Oisin? And also a winner of the All-Ireland Schools debate. Oisin's a senior counsel, and he was Lord Mayor of Dublin, many of you may know, from 2013 to 2014. Right. These are basically the rules, which I make up as I go along. They might change, but this is what they are now. Each speaker we're proposing will have, I have written here about 8 minutes. In fact, it will be 8 minutes. It won't be longer than 8 minutes. Brian O'Rourke here is going to ring the bell at 7 minutes. And at 8 minutes he'll ring it again, and that's it. And I'm going to be quite strict about that, because we do want to get finished, because we have to have the hesitation of the teachers. After the final speaker has concluded, the 2 judges will, I'll introduce those 2 judges now in a second, will retire to consider their decision. Now, while the judges are out considering their decision, we'll have about 10 to 15 minutes for questions, points, statements, certainly not speeches from audience members. And again, going on last year's experience, what I propose is that people should be fairly brief and to the point if they want to get in. Being humorous and original always helps. If there are a lot of people with their hands up trying to get in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give priority to anybody in the audience who's a student at this college. Then after that, I'm going to give priority to their brothers and sisters and pals and mates who are here. after that to the parents, and after that to teachers. So it means basically that if you're about 18 or 19 or under, you've got a pretty good chance of getting hurt. Above that, we can't guarantee anything. So let me just tell you a bit about our judges. Michael Collins here. Some of you may remember Michael's entertaining and very informative contribution last year in this debate. We were talking about why this house should celebrate 1916. Remember? Michael's a past member of the class of 1974, and he's senior counsel. He's a senior counsel, former chairman of the Bar Council, currently adjunct professor of law at UCD. And Richard Wafer, Dick Wafer, here's Dick. Of course you're there. Former teacher here at the college, many of you will know him, taught geography here for 30, when I saw this I couldn't believe it actually, 37 years. During that time he was also deeply involved with the Senior Debating Society, produced many All-Ireland debating finalists and winners, some of them here this evening, as well excuse me, as coaching the winning Irish team in the World Schools Debating Championships. Okay, so let's get to it, and first of all, to propose the motion, we're going to hear first from Alexander O'Farrell.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, Mr. O'Connell, Mr. Collins, Mr. Wafer, members of the proposition and esteemed members of the opposition. My name is Alexander O'Farrell, and I'll be opening the debate for the proposition. I stand before you today to discuss the motion this House would welcome a visit from President Trump. And for the purpose of my debate, it is a diplomatic visit to the country as opposed to the school itself. And more importantly, we'll be discussing one of the most polarising figures in modern memory. So, as the gap between liberals and conservatives widens in the US, and the sea of politics in Europe begins to part, people being dragged left and right of the political spectrum. These indeed are strange times we live in, and once again we have a star of cinema and screen rising to one of the most powerful offices on earth. Trump and his heritage are sitting at the top of one of the most economically powerful countries of the modern era. And unlike many of his business ventures, he cannot simply sign it off on bankruptcy or simply claim, as he did on Twitter, "I never went bankrupt, but like many great business people, I've used the laws to corporate advantage." Smart. The reality of the matter is that aside from the stance of Donald Trump on women's rights, LGBTQ rights, his own conduct at home and publicly, this is the man who's on the verge of starting a nuclear conflict and has the big red button on the other side of his desk to do it. And as I'm sure the opposition are going to make abundantly clear, brash decision maker, will likely. And of course, I could stand here all day and list his faults. Nevertheless, I digress. Why should we invite Donald Trump into our country with a cane needle fortune and pint of Guinness in hand? Do the opposition really believe that Ireland saying Trump can't visit will really have an effect on him? Personally? Politically? In our economy, what will this act of defiance do for us? Economically, how are we going to be affected by this? Under all that makeup and hairspray, he might be a bit upset. Might shed a little tear while he's on his because he's going to get a boo on his way to County Clare. However, he might also take action. Trump might follow through on his flirtation to cutting US domestic corporation taxes, making it far less attractive for large firms to hoard their money overseas and instead keep it in the US, taking away what little money they leave here, according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. And this decrease in the amount of foreign direct investors, FDIs, couldn't possibly... Yes, of course.
There's a conflict in your argument. On the one hand, you're saying Ireland is really insignificant, so we can have no effect. And on the other hand, you're saying if we don't invite him here, he's going to change United States financial and economic policy. So which is it? You can't have
Sorry,
both ways.
that's my fault. It's an effective within our economy. So if the US foreign direct investors leave the country, we'll be in trouble. That's my fault. So what will this lead to? The lessening of foreign direct investors in our country will lead to a decrease in the wage rates. And according to Eurostat, Ireland's minimum wage is the second highest in Europe, something which we enjoy as members of our country could be taken away. And economic thought dictates that a decrease in the amount of FDIs could lead to a huge number of issues and a decrease in the relative wage rates and the level of minimum wage in our country. And the balance of payments will be affected, of course, as well. The current accounting balance of international payments recorded a surplus of 4.7% of the GDP in 2016. A surplus on the current account component of the balance of payments indicates that the country is exporting more goods than services than importing, which is a very beneficial thing for the Irish country. An ideal situation for Ireland due to our tiny domestic market size. And of course the level of competition between firms in the country is going to be affected. FDIs have a significant influence on this. The president of multinational enterprises assist the economic development by stimulating the domestic competition and therefore leading, increasing to higher productivity, innovation, lower prices and more efficient resource allocation. Therefore, the reality of the matter is that we're far better off with the US and Trump than with Europe and the EMU. I'm not saying we should leave it at any stage. The US alone accounts for $33.2 billion to Ireland. That's more than the next two closest competitors combined.
Corporate United States and Donald Trump are not the same entity. In fact, many major US companies like Google actively campaign against many of the stances that Trump takes on ethnic diversity in the workplace, on the rights of LGBT workers, and so on.
I'm sure they do. They are multinational companies. They're very diverse. But of course, they are, at the end of the day, they're a business. They're looking to make a profit margin, regardless of how left-wing and progressive they are. They're looking to make a profit, and if their profits are going to be made in the US, they're going to go there. So, change is something to therefore be embraced, and something that is part of the natural way of things. It is inevitable, and economics is no exception. But it's to create stability that is the aim of the government supporting that country. Controlling this change is a part of economic growth, and throwing a proverbial spanner in the works by massively deteriorating relations with one of our largest trade partners. It's not unrecommendable. It is reckless and borderline insane. If we're going to be staring down the barrel of a metaphorical gun that is a visit from Donald Trump, do you take it and hand it to the next country? Or do you shoot yourself in the foot? To the rational mind, the answer is obvious. To our partners across the way, this is less so. And, to quote the great man himself, everything in life is luck. So, how about we make some of our own luck and not deny the representative of the American people a stopover in our country? In closing, one does not have to agree with Trump. One does not even have to enjoy him. In fact, hate him, if you wish. Yet do not let emotion influence the only logical conclusion to this issue. Are the economic factors we put at risk worth it? No. Of course not, and I illustrated this in my piece, I hope. President Trump should and will have the right to visit our country as a show of strong diplomatic relationship that has existed between Ireland and the United States for decades. Thank you very much for listening to my speech.
The first speaker to propose the motion this evening is Cian McGoldrick.
Thank you, Chairperson, President of the Union, for Headmaster, fellow past members of staff, students and ladies and gentlemen. May I start off by firstly thank you very much for organising this event this evening. Typically when you are preparing for a debate, a team will throw ideas off each other, and what we try to do is formulate a structure to ensure that we're all in sync. And what I will do as the first speaker is stand up and then outline our respective arguments. So I'm here to open the case for the opposition, and so to give advance notice and to be quite frank, I haven't a clue what we're planning on talking about tonight, because we just met less than 20 minutes ago. So we're pretty much winging this. So I haven't a clue what he's going to say, or what he's going to say. And judging by the face on him, God knows what he is going to say. What I do know is that we are brave enough to say that we do not welcome a visit by President Trump. That's pretty easy to imagine. The four of us pitching up at Dublin Airport as Air Force One lands, with our placards, flowers in our hair, sharing a joint between the four of us every 20 minutes. And wherever he goes around the country, we're chasing him saying, you aren't welcome here, you aren't welcome here. It's not quite like that. But what I have realised just 5 minutes ago is that, yes, my tie may be red. I only picked up on that just as this debate started. But I'm not here doing a sketch, trying to think that I'm imitating Trump. It's not like that at all. The real jokers here tonight is that bunch here. What you have over here is going to be sense and logic. And these lads, they're just more the same old, the same old. We are trying to be different. So that is exactly what we are saying. We're telling the most powerful man in the world, sorry, not today. So why are we right then? What is the justification for little Ireland, a little battered island on the fringe of Europe, emerging from economic woes, saying no to the world's mighty superpower? What is the justification in that? That just seems absolutely absurd. And it may sound utterly ridiculous to everyone here this evening, but it is not only necessary, but what we will realise is that it is the right thing to do. Trump's election was followed by a period of denial, and politicians like our dearly beloved Taoiseach backtracking on earlier cocky remarks, and a refusal to accept that this had happened, and to deal with it. But it did happen, and the peaceful transfer of power took place in January, and this Saturday, I believe, is going to mark 100 days in office. I think Ireland has always enjoyed, in many respects, licking up to the United States. We seem to kind of adore wooing American presidents, and in the depths of our woes 6 years ago, we were all taken in by President Obama's most lazy, generic version of join the dot oratory, and we treated it like that was gospel, as if America really cares about us. So Obama has left, and Trump has arrived, and he's been labelled a great businessman who knows how to cut a deal. That's what he's going to do for America. He's going to cut the best deal. That's what everybody believes. And he goes around saying, everybody, he's a great guy, believe me, you know it, I know it, we all know it, it's going to be fantastic, it's going to be fantastic. And that is all we hear, this ladder in all this speech, the same nonsense. This is the same person who came out and said, and I quote, if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. That is one of the weirdest things I've ever heard. And that's quite saying something when you consider a lot of the guys I went to school with were pretty weird people. In fact, some of them are over there right now. The fact is that Mr. Trump... No, thank you. Let's see. The fact is that Mr. Trump inherited a large fortune. And if he even made a reasonable effort to invest it properly, then he should be far, far wealthier than he actually is. He's run casinos into the ground. How is that even possible? It's one of the easiest businesses possible to run in the United States, running a casino. He's bankrupted numerous companies and survived off a TV show, Miss Universe pageants, and put his name on absolutely everything. Trump this, Trump that. He's not quite the amazing businessman you thought he was. Al seems to think that he's smart. I don't quite think so. He is a true populist who would take the United States in an authoritarian direction if he could. And that is what scares me about President Trump and what he has done. Because the very structures that we look to in the United States that have kept Western democracy stable suddenly look very shaky. And we must have faith and belief in their foundation and their structure. Because he is a threat to the principles that govern our democracy, a democracy that is underpinned by the rule of law. And he has shown clear contempt towards the institutions that safeguard the separation of powers. These political tectonic plates are literally shifting beneath our feet, and we all just don't quite realise it at the moment. We are at a crossroads. This is a momentous time for Ireland, Europe, the United States, and very much the world. And it is almost like we have become so caught up in a whirlwind and storm of conflicting news that the moment has come that we just need to take a big step back, look all around us, and say, what are we really doing here? The Western world has to react. We have been immersed in a plague of complacency, ignorance, arrogance, recklessness, and sheer carelessness. This is the same ignorance that allowed the absolute travesty that is Brexit, and all the wasted time that is going to come as a result. And what is going on in this country? We just have a spineless minority government. In the universities, it's the same nonsense. Where are the real liberals gone? And I mean real liberalism. Because it's not in Trinity or UCD anymore, or in any other college in Ireland. It's not in the colleges in the United Kingdom. And it's certainly not in the colleges in the United States. Everything is PC, everything is here are better ways to talk to your colleague buttons. We have clueless politicians saying that they're looking out for us, that they really care, when all they're really out for is for themselves, and how they can move up the ladder by backstabbing another. And the result, it has been disinterest and apathy, and has morphed into this anger, resentment, and this backlash against the establishments that we have seen. So why should we fear...
Point of information.
Go ahead.
Your liberal outlook on life has left 63 million Americans behind in America. That's why the backlash has come. So you're confusing this liberal idealism with actually against a president who has taken action, he's shown to be strong on an international stage. You're actually proving our point here by saying it would be absurd for him to be refused access to this country. He's a strong leader, he's shown to take action, and your liberals have left the world in a state.
That's right. What has happened with liberalism is that it's very much disappeared across the universities. That we have very much people that claim to be liberals, but don't actually allow the other side of the debate to be heard in. That is why people have become disenfranchised. That is why people have lost their enthusiasm, and that is why they've become disenfranchised in our current society. In terms of why we should not have an issue with Donald Trump not coming to Ireland, I ask, where is our moral fibre, our so-called rebellious spirit? After decades of division and stagnation in this country, we finally nearly built something and we nearly destroyed it all. The multinationals aren't leaving anytime soon. Corporate America is totally different, as Jim has just mentioned there. And to be honest, it's time that Ireland developed a different outlook. That we don't have this carry on every march in Washington where it's a case of Americans thinking of Ireland as Irish people fleeing on famine ships. Peasants in a basic poor country still find its feet. No. We're no longer a soft country dependent on handouts. We're ready to take our proper place in the world. So what I'm looking now is for inspiration. I'm looking for real leadership in our society, and not the resentment that Trump, Hofer and Wilders have bought. And President Trump, we are not going to degrade ourselves and discard our principles by morphing into incorrigible, these hypocrites welcome you with a big smile and open arms. It's about standing up for values. And that is exactly why we will certainly welcome no visit from President Trump. And we're very proud to oppose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Cian. The second speaker for the motion is Shane Cassidy.
Mr. Chairman, judges, opposition, ladies and gentlemen, it's both a great honour and privilege that I speak here tonight to propose a motion that this House would welcome a visit by Donald Trump. I think it's very fitting to Mr. Trump that we can debate this motion tonight with our ethnic and gender balanced teams. I do believe that Mr. Trump would approve, and furthermore I believe we can make debating great again. So why should we care about the USA and its president, I hear you ask? Well, the answer is quite simple. We need them. 30 million Americans of direct Irish descent, 58 billion in foreign direct investment, 140,000 jobs, direct and indirect. Culturally, socially, historically, in business and politics, America, through the office of the presidency, has been a friend to Ireland. President Trump has been one president of 45. It's the case that we would bite the hand that feeds us. Would we dare show such disrespect to any other president of an economic and political partner purely because your girl doesn't win the college vote? I do believe it is right and proper to challenge and educate where you find fault, but to sever a tie is both naive and foolhardy of our opposition. I genuinely do believe that our friends in the opposition have been caught up in the groundswell of fake news and social media furore. And this tide of negative opinion against Mr. Trump is no more than an angry mob mentality brought to the 21st century, carrying their torches and pitchforks through the internet highway. No, thank you. The opposition would paint Donald Trump as a conservative with bigoted values, a greedmonger lacking a uniform understanding of politics. Show me Donald Trump, and I will show you a world of politicians of equal, no thank you, of equal or worse value. Ireland has had the pleasure of 7 serving and 1 former presidents of this shore. Before JFK hysteria, Ulysses S. Grant was welcomed by the people of Ireland. No mention of sympathetic leanings for the anti-immigrant, anti-Catholic, know-nothing movement of the 1850s. JFK...
On this point, like, if we made a mistake in the 1850s, that doesn't mean we should make a similar mistake now or forevermore in the future.
I think that we must use our diplomatic and cultural ties to ensure that we can get across a point of view to any nation. And if we're going to treat any president in one way, we should treat all presidents in the same way. JFK, let us be honest, he was no altar boy, serial adulterer, the Bay of Pigs, assassination of a South Vietnamese president, small coup in Vietnam, Tricky Dicky Nixon, Ronald Reagan, not a sinner mentioned US clandestine operations against Nicaragua and the Iran-Contra affair as he downed his pint of the black stuff in Ballyporeen. Clinton, Lewinsky, don't ask, don't tell, the bombing of Yugoslavia, George W. in Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Guantanamo, WMDs and the lack thereof. Even Obama had Benghazi, burnt down, mass deportations and drone strikes. No, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Trump has only been in office for just over 100 days. Yeah, he suffered some setbacks, but he's had some successes too. His first military action was to strike back at the Assad regime for the terrible use of chemical weapons. He has faced down the North Vietnamese. He has sent a clear message to ISIS in Afghanistan. And I say to you this evening, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump, like all US presidents that has visited Ireland, has not been squeaky clean, but if we could find it in our dear diaspora-loving hearts to welcome the other 8 rogues, well then I implore you to welcome Mr. Trump. Mr. Chairman, yes, I will agree. No, thank you, sir, sorry. Yes, I will agree that perhaps his language is boorish and sometimes offensive. His conduct has been below par of that of the highest office we have in the US, but I think we're missing one vital point of this whole debate. Politics is broken. It is a worldwide phenomenon. The Arab Spring, Brexit, the rise of UKIP, Le Pen, Geert Wilders, even the surge in support for Sinn Féin is born out of a disillusionment of the electorate with the politicians today. Centrist parties have adopted, no thank you, have adopted austerity fetishes, lost contact with the grassroots, abandoned principles for their pensions and convenience. There is widespread acceptance that all politicians are the same. Young people are disinterested and issues of interest to them are rarely engaged upon. So where do you go when the establishment doesn't represent you? Where do you vote for when the other candidate is Hillary Clinton? Well, the answer is simple. You go to the extremes. No, thank you. It is the same story across the world, it's the same story across time. When the centre fails, you move left or right, further out to the right, until you find something, someone that will stand for you. And yes, that may mean that we have to accept some extreme values or objectives, but if we can politics is about compromise. And if we can compromise on the extreme, maybe, just maybe, we will get action on the centre. Mr. Trump is that step away from the centre. He's a dramatic change from the norm. His business-like approach to politics is different. He's emotional, patriotic, passionate. He seeks to make his country again, and that's to be applauded, not admonished. We as a nation could learn a lot from him. He's a champion for the silent, disenfranchised electorate. He may not have won the popular vote, but the college system is designed that way. His no-nonsense approach to social issues inspires debate. Generation Snowflake may be offended, but at least they're debating the issues. Political engagement is on the rise in America. There is renewed impetus in political education and agitation. This House should welcome anyone who can reignite the passion for politics that Donald Trump has done so in America. Finally, and I know, hashtag thank God, my last point is, well, what's the big deal? What is so controversial about Trump that we would strike our staff upon the ground and say, you shall not pass? We might like to think we are of a higher plane than our American cousins. Immigration, race issues, abortion, the fear of big government, the erosion of people power and representation, contempt for the establishment and their institutions, a hatred of austerity measures, and an insatiable search for strong leadership to make this country great again. These are not the issues of the US, these are the issues of Ireland. While we are liberal on certain social issues, we are just as right-wing as those we seek to mock. Ireland is not the liberal paradise it would like to think it is. Our parliament is made up of about 80% conservative or right-wing groups. The number of race attacks in Ireland is at an all-time high. Discrimination in the workplace is rising at exponential levels. The level of contempt towards the EU and its institutions growing and will only be fueled by Brexit. Even though we're in economic growth, our government still implements financial emergency measures and enforces brutal tax policies. And if Enda Kenny is the definition of strong leadership, we're in real trouble. Donald's wicked policies, what are they, you may ask? To tackle unchecked immigration and bring order to the issue of undocumented immigrants is policy we welcomed in Ireland. Maybe not as well, but debate about immigration without racist overtones is wanted. To boost employment. Yes, this may be to Ireland's detriment, but we're not as electorate. Most of our government policies have been about boosting employment as well. The environment. We can all agree that climate change is bad, but every election comes down to the economy, and the non-compliance of all nations to the Paris agreements make it uncompetitive. Ireland is not going to make its targets, so why are we stamping our feet about this? Repealing Obamacare. Repeal and replace universal healthcare by encouraging competition in the sector. We don't even have universal healthcare. We have queues, overpriced medication, understaffed and overworked healthcare workers. Maybe this is a conversation that we in Ireland need to have, and with Trump's help, maybe we can. A strong foreign policy. Maybe we could learn from his Gulf resort diplomacy. A tax revolution. Again, maybe to Ireland's detriment, but it's not as if Ireland hasn't used its tax system to leverage a few companies here or there to set up. Lastly, to drain the swamps. Trump's whole campaign is about anti-establishment. How often have we sat around the office or lunch table and bitched about this crooked so-and-so or that cute whore? We too would love to drain the swamp and revolutionise how politics can be done here in Ireland. We are the misogynistic, kind of racist, but don't mean to be, disillusioned, disenfranchised masses that yearn for a champion. We are all Trump supporters in one way or another. We may not want to be, but we are. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to accept this proposal and welcome Mr. Trump and make this House great again.
Thank you, Shane. The second speaker who will oppose the motion tonight is Oisin.
Members of the audience, adjudicated chairperson, my name is Conall Phelan, and I'm honoured to be debating tonight, opposing the motion that this House would welcome us by Donald Trump. Firstly, I'd like to point out that although our politics might be broken, although politics in general might be broken, why should we allow this man to enter our country? Why should we allow him to even enter our school? Like, the whole fact of which of a person who has done all these terrible things, such as been terrible to women, we all know that scandal, or decided to build a wall. We too know about that wall, don't we? We all know about that closed border. We all know about those going through the border. I've heard countless stories from people of older ages than me about guns being held through windows and just terrible, terrible accounts. But whenever I hear the name Donald Trump, three distinct words pop into my head: xenophobia, misogyny, and delusion. Three words which I believe should not describe a man who has the ability to destroy entire countries with nuclear missiles, nor someone will I welcome into my school nor country. Firstly, I don't believe Donald Trump himself should be seen as a man, but as a symbol as the President of the United States. The symbol you represent should uphold the prime American values, of course, but I believe this has been tarnished with its hatred and negative traditionalism. Ireland itself has been very accepting and has open arms for change. Once this man started a campaign of terror on change in society today. A visit to this nation by him would be a large step back in regards to Ireland's positivity and may even show support for his ideas and actions in his short term as president. So far, which I may add, has been disastrous. Global warming is a total and expensive hoax. This is a direct quote from Donald Trump's personal Twitter account. This easily shows his lack of knowledge on the issue, raising a concern for myself about what he will do to combat this global epidemic. I hope everyone in this room can agree with me when I say that this is a ridiculous mistake. If this doesn't show his delusional mindset, just let me remind you of the wall. Even this week, there's a chance we may see a closure of government with the United States over the budgeting process, which will be formed due to the funds needed to build this wall. However, a key point of his electoral campaign was that Mexico itself would pay for this wall. Another ridiculous, extremely delusional idea itself.
Well, all politicians lie. There's one thing I've learned in my 18 years. All politicians lie. They say what people want to hear.
And if he goes through with this, do people have to pay for this lie? This brings me on to the next one, Donald Trump's xenophobia. The closed border, as I was told earlier, I've heard many accounts of the north and south and entering the border, and I would not wish this to any people in my lifetime. Yes, this may affect the drug trade, but people find a way. I don't think anything would be strong enough to stop the flow of narcotics or illegal immigrants into the US. Another event I'm sure you're all aware of is the recent failure of his Muslim ban. This was completely unnecessary, and it caused so many hardships across the US. This man used religion to disallow people to enter their own country, where they were born for nothing, which ultimately may have led to even more problems, as it gives full cause for retaliation by his own people, by the very few he tried to keep out of the US, radical Islamists, anyone who wishes to seek to harm the US. Misogyny is an easy term to apply to this man. Firstly, his cabinet picks, 82% men. For comparison, Obama held a cabinet of 64% men. This could be possibly pushed aside as these men were seen as better for their job, but I refuse to believe this. After the scandal, I'm sure you're all aware of involving women. Morally corrupt, I think this is a great way to sum them up. I'm sure everyone in this room today knows about this scandal. This was a disgrace, and I don't see how any rational human could have voted for him after. I will not use the quote, as I believe we can all agree it's a disgusting thing to say, but I can quote him with, when you're starving, they let you do it. You can do anything. This shows there's been more than one incidence of sexist comments. There's many more, which you don't really have to look very hard to find. Now I'd like to ask everyone in the room a question to ask yourself. Say if a man said this to a woman who meant something to you, your wife, your sister, your mother, or any woman for that matter, would you let them into your home? Would you be happy feeding them, showing them around, even allowing them to talk to your children? This is what would happen if Donald Trump was led to visit this college. And I don't see any reason why it's acceptable that he comes anywhere near this country nor school. This wasn't the first nor the last the world has seen of Trump's irresponsible nature. But I believe we may see his last involving North Korea, with his horrible excuse of the President of the United States and the hot-headed Kim Jong-un as leader of North Korea. I think there is the greatest chance of World War III we will have. The recent bombings over chemical weapons usage in Syria shows that Donald Trump is willing. Yet there is reason that we've gathered to see this man, and we let him visit this beautiful country before he destroys it in a nuclear war. Castle College itself is very forward-thinking, and has even changed heavily in the time I've been at this college. From the zero tolerance of bullying to the current push for a green flag. Both issues so far Donald Trump has shown complete and utter neglect for. What could you even ask this man who visited? Why are you doing this? How can you let American politics become such a laughingstock? Sure, there would be tourism from supporters, but there would be riots and protests even before he lands. Even so, the people that would come to see him, they'd only be seeking violence. They'd be seeing him as a figure of hatred, or what? No, thank you. Or, on the other hand, they might be here to support him. But, why would Ireland be more right-wing people? I don't see why. But I digress. If Donald Trump visited this college, I believe we would stain our reputation. We would allow someone that is completely neglectful of Ireland and this college worldview into our inner circle, and I believe it's morally corrupt and circle. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. The next speaker, the third speaker for the motion is Captain Farrell.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you haven't your minds made up at this stage when you listen to our esteemed colleagues on the opposition. I'm delighted, though, that there's some great sense coming from this side of the room. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, judges, hopefully tonight I'm going to tell you a story. I want you to think of an immigrant family and a little boy that they had, who's from German and Scottish descent. He grew up to love his country, a patriot. He found his niche in real estate, and he had a vision to make his country great again. Now, we talked about ethnic minorities already here tonight. I too are from an ethnic minority, as my colleague Myles is. We both, like Donald, left Kent Station in Cork in 1987. We crossed the county bounds with hope in our hearts, and we headed north to the Big Smoke and to Castleknock College. We too found our niche and our love for rugby in the school. And to this day, we have a vision of making Knock great again. Our opposition will feed your established bias. Yes, he's racist, he's sexist, he's an Islamophobe, an idiot, a buffoon. Yet, I ask you to wonder, and please think of this, is he just a little misunderstood? Just as Donald Trump wants to make his country great again, Myles and I, and my other pro-Trumpites here tonight, want our wonderful school to fulfill its Vincentian ambition in developing the whole person. Because education is more than just career advancement. It's about learning how to make a difference in the world. This is something that the President and this House have in common. What's all the emotion about? Why all the upset? Why are we marching on parliaments? Why are we protesting in petitions against state visits? Maybe the opposition are right. Are they right? I mean, think about it. How dare the man make promises on his campaign and go on and keep them? The cheek of him. He's 100 days in office. No, thank you. And he's done exactly what he said he would do. My God, the outrage. Does he not know how the system works? Does he not know that politicians don't keep their promises? Let's have a look. My God. He wants to create jobs. He wants to invest in infrastructure, build roads and bridges. He wants companies and people to buy American goods and hire American workers. He's going to cut taxes for everyone, and he's going to try and bring up $1.2 trillion of American tax revenue home. He sounds terrible, doesn't he? Resilience, something our opposition could do. They'll tell you he's a failure. And yes, he's failed loads of times. He's put airlines, casinos, magazines, bottled water companies, even grand universities out of business. No, thank you. But he gets back up every single time. He learns. That's why he's a winner. Not because of the number of failures he has, but he gets back up every time. He's a winner because he learns from his failures. We all know about not sporting disappointments over the last number of decades. But you know what? We also need to get up, dust ourselves down, and keep coming back time and time again. The establishment are worried. They're freaking out. Recently on NBC, a parody was reported that Donald J. Trump, he went to Jerusalem, he got a heart attack and he died. The locals said to the US officials with him, you have two choices. We can ship him back, his mortal remains back to America for $100,000, or we'll bury him here locally for $100. Very quickly the US officials came back and said, we want to ship him home. The local undertaker said, why would you do that? It makes no sense. They said, listen, a long time ago a man died here in Jerusalem. He was buried, and in 3 days he rose. Frankly, we just can't take the chance. He is draining the political swamp. He put a hiring ban in place for the corrupt and inefficient civil service. He's challenging the liberal media because, you know what? They're propping up the establishment and they don't like being challenged. Yes?
Well, I'm wondering really is how you can stand up right there and defend a man who has criticised federal courts, because once that distinction between courts and Congress is gone, it's game over. It is game over in the United States, it's game over for democracy, it's finished. So how can you justify
within his constitutional right, he was able to appoint someone to the Supreme Court. I'm afraid that some of our liberal friends with Jerry Adams and Sinn Féin should wonder about him attacking the Special Criminal Court in Ireland, but thank you for the point. The other thing, no thank you, he's prepared to offend political correctness. Thanks be to God somebody is. And you know what? No thank you. And you know what? When everybody forgot about average Joe American, you would expect our liberal friends to be out there with their placards looking after the steel and coal workers of middle America. But isn't it a little ironic that it was a billionaire New York businessman who was the only one to step up to the plate?
On this one.
No, thank you. We live in a crazy world. Terrorism is growing. IS are taking over more lands. North Korea are testing ballistic missiles to try and hit the west coast of America. Russia can take over peninsulas and nobody does anything. The West needs a strong leader like Donald Trump. Russians, they don't respect President Obama. They respect somebody who takes action. And in Syria, as already outlined, he took action when Assad crossed the line. And he will also deal with North Korea. Isn't that a man we should welcome to this house? Safe borders. He wants to keep the USA safe. He's not a racist. He's not anti-immigration. But he won't allow illegal immigration. He wants to protect the values and way of life in the USA against those who wish to destroy it. Isn't that a man we should welcome to this house? So I asked you to wonder if he was misunderstood. He's not perfect. No leader is. But he would benefit from a visit to this house and learning the Vincentian way. We'd probably teach him about respect for individuals, service to the needy, and that self-giving makes the world a better place. Despite all the blunders, the gaffes, the politically incorrect and insensitive statements, I believe in his heart, he really wants to do good for America. He wants to make America strong. He wants to make it safe for his people. He wants to make it great again. So he knows what he wants to do. But a visit to this house and an understanding of the Vincentian way would tell him how to do it. So just as you welcomed 2 immigrant Corkonians in the 1980s to this house, I beg you, I implore you, open your doors again, because with his strength and vision and our Vincentian way, together we can make Knock great again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. The third speaker now to oppose the motion is Cian McGoldrick.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, distinguished adjudicators, fellow speakers, presidents, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, it's not just about challenging political correctness, and it's not about, having a laugh and talking about when you were in school in the 80s. It's about out and out racism, out and out sexism, out and out homophobia that damages lives. These are not just words that are said in the heat of a political campaign to win electoral office. These are not things that are done every day when there's an election to be the head of a government or the head of a country. These are outlandish, grotesque, highly unusual, and extremely serious and damaging words and comments. You see, when you're from a minority, you have an appreciation for bigotry and the effect that it has on you that you don't have when you're not from a minority. And as a gay man married to a Chilean, you can understand why some of the things, just some of the things, that Donald Trump has said in his campaigning, and has said long before this campaign actually began, the damage that that does, the hurt that does, and the motivation that that gives to ignorant people, to uneducated people, and to millions of people who live in fear, economic slavery. The motivation that it gives to them to think, do you know what? It's okay to hold these views. It's okay to say these things because the President of the United States of America holds these views, says these things, and allows these things to inform and to develop his policies. Let's have a look at some facts, because unlike some of the speakers here this evening, I actually did a little bit of research in preparation for this debate. Everything I'm about to say is a matter of public record. It has been said by Donald Trump. They are not our friends, believe me. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems. And they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They are rapists. And some, I assume, are good people. That's what he said. That's what he said just over a year ago at one of his campaign rallies. But it doesn't just start there. Back in 1973, when he was president of his family's Trump Management Corporation, he was sued by the Justice Department in the United States of America because his company were refusing to let out apartments that they owned in New York to black people, to Puerto Ricans, and to other minorities. And when black people and Puerto Ricans and other minorities came looking for a place to live, they were charged higher rents, or they were told, oh no, actually that vacancy no longer exists. He challenged this and lost. 2 years later, he settled. And again in 1978, he was sued again by the Justice Department for the very same thing. I'll take your quote in a moment. Back in 1989, 5 black and Latino teens, boys of the same age as the students that would teach day in and day out in this college, were convicted of a rape of a white jogger, a female jogger, in Central Park in the United States. Donald Trump took out full-page ads in newspapers calling for the death penalty for, quote, criminals of every age. He said, quote, they should be forced to suffer, and when they kill, they should be executed for their crimes. I want to hate these murderers, and I always will. His action, his racist motivations and his action helped whip up such a furore that those young boys spent until 2002 in federal prison until they were completely exonerated with DNA evidence in 2002. You see, this is how the man you would welcome to this country destroys lives. I'll take your point.
Sorry for lightening the tone, but you don't have to like someone to invite them along. I mean, I was asked here this evening.
And I I know, you see, humour's not my strong point, so I'm not going to try to be humorous. But I am going to try to bring the debate back to what it really should be about. Something that is very, very serious. No, thank you. In 1991, John O'Donnell, who was the former president of Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino, he wrote a book. And in the book he spoke about how black people who worked in that company were treated in the 1980s and early 1990s. And he gave a number of quotes that Donald Trump said to him. One of them was the following: "It isn't funny. I got black accountants at Trump Castle and Trump Plaza. Black guys counting my money. I hate it. The only kind of people I want counting my money are short guys that wear yarmulkes every day." And then on speaking of a black worker, he said, "I think the guy is lazy. It's probably not his fault, because laziness is a trait in blacks. It really is. I believe that. It's not anything they can control." In an interview that Donald Trump gave to Playboy magazine in May 1997, when he was challenged on these quotes, he said, quote, "The stuff O'Donnell wrote about me is probably true." Fast forward to 2015, and you can watch this on YouTube if you're that way inclined. Donald Trump supported the physical kicking on the ground of an African-American protester who chanted Black Lives Matter at a Donald Trump election rally. He said maybe he should have been roughed up a bit. It was absolutely disgusting what he was doing. But the best example I could find was the following. In 2016, at the Democratic Convention last summer, Kazir and Ghazala Khan, a father and mother of a Muslim US soldier who had been killed in action, spoke. And they spoke about the horrific loss that they had experienced. And the father spoke, and the mother, who wears a headscarf, stood silently behind him at the podium. And Donald Trump went out the next day, tweeting, "If you look at his wife, she was standing there. She had nothing to say. Maybe she wasn't allowed to have anything to say. You tell me." The next day, Ghazala Khan explained in an opinion piece in the Washington Post that the reason she stood there and could not speak was because her grief was so great at the loss of her son. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is an out-and-out racist, sexist, and homophobe. He says things like, "Don't you think my daughter's hot? She's hot, right?" Or, "I think that putting a wife to work is a very dangerous thing." Or, on equal pay, "Well, you get away from the whole American dream that way, you know." Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's a cut and fast case. We should not accept out-and-out racists, homophobes, xenophobes on a visit to our independent, sovereign country when the journey we are on is diametrically opposed to the journey that a man like Donald Trump would take us on. I urge you to propose.
Thank you, Jim. We're now moving to the final remarks from each side, and the final speaker for the proposition is Myles Kirby.
Ladies and gentlemen, attention callers, it's over 20 years since I last stood in this hall, and if Mr. McGoldrick's tectonic plates are literally moving beneath my feet, I mightn't be standing for long, so bear with me. You would think over that period that I'd have learned a bit about preparation and planning, as Mr. McElroy said. I probably should have done a bit more in advance of the debate, but I'm as ill-informed as I ever was before a debate in the school. The only small difference, and in a nod, I suppose, to the time we live in, is that I spent the last hour hastily typing out my notes on a laptop in the car park instead of scribbling them out in Mr. McDevitt's maths class an hour before the debate 20 years ago. I presume one of the purposes of these debates is for us wise old past men to pass on some of that wisdom to the current pupils. And in that vein, I suppose I can offer two gems. Firstly, get your excuses in early, and secondly, cramming is the single most important thing you will ever learn in school. On the topic of skills, throughout my time in Castleknock, we were always told that debating would stand us great stead in our later careers in life. In the real world, I'm surrounded here by past men who are the very finest of those debaters. But looking back at that advice, I'm not quite so sure. I suppose there are really only 3 professions where public speaking is needed on a daily basis. The first is as a barrister, the second is as a politician, and the third is with the vocation in the priesthood. Mr. Quinn has, with varying degrees of success, tried his hand at the first 2. I'm just throwing it out there, but maybe it's not too late to consider joining the profession. What I'm saying really is that we are men of words. What we really need in this day and age are men of action. And that brings me to tonight's man of action, the world's greatest man of action, Mr. Trump. People in Ireland and the media say that Trump could only have been elected in America. The consensus is that he tapped into the mood of frustrated, conservative, white, middle-aged males. And maybe that's right. I attended the Castleknock Business Lunch a couple of weeks ago, and while it was a great success, it was an event attended entirely by frustrated, conservative, white, middle-aged males. As I sat there with 200 other greying, emasculated men, it occurred to me that I may as well have been at a Trump rally somewhere in Virginia, and the only difference were the lack of chance of lock her up. If Donald walked in as the surprise guest of honour, he would have got a rapturous reception. So what I'm saying is maybe there's more in common with Castleknock and the US of A than you might think. It's often remarked that Mr. Trump never held elected political office before he became president. He certainly shares that with Mr. Quinn's Labour Party, who after the last general election hold no elected political positions either. Sorry, of course, they do hold the presidency, which is the highest office in the land. But for all the criticism we've heard about Mr. Trump from Mr. Phelan and Mr. McGoldrick, very eloquently, if it really came down to it in a moment of crisis, who would you want as your commander-in-chief? The tough-talking, no-nonsense hard man who doesn't fear intimidation from Vladimir Putin, or the poetry-reading dreamer who had to stand on a wooden box during the presidential debates for fear of intimidation by Dana. I know who I'll be standing behind when the Russian nukes start raining down. On a serious note, just like America, Knox's glory years were the post-war years of the 50s and 60s. We were up there with the very best in terms of academia, sport and politics. We produced a numerous Taoiseach, Supreme Court judges, we regularly won the Senior Cup, and we were regarded as the finest school in the country. Since then, we have been in slow decline. Nowadays, our students are more likely to appear in front of a judge than citizens. So over 50 years since we won the Cup, and the less said about academic performance, the better. Our most famous past man is Conall Phelan, who will be at the tonight. Without putting too fine a point on it, Castleknock is the Rust Belt of secondary school. Just like the modern solution to any problem, Castleknock has resorted to spin. We boast about shiny new buildings and winning minor novelty competitions like the Young Scientist competition. We boast about the resurgence of cricket, soccer and chess. Is that the height of our ambition? To be Gonzaga of the North Side? Again, in parallel with America, there was a brief period of success during the 1960s, during the Clinton era. Here was a smooth, silver-tongued, charismatic leader who had a great charm with the ladies. Ultimately, even Kevin O'Shea couldn't turn around the rot. We then turned to our own strong man. Father Slevin came to Knock with a fearsome reputation, a tough old-school operator who was going to return Knock to the traditional values that made it great. In many ways, Father Slevin was a forerunner of Donald Trump. Unfortunately, Father Slevin's lifelong dedication to the study of physics and logic was his downfall. As Trump has shown, How can you defeat climate change with the belief in science? So, what are the main characteristics of Mr. Trump? We've heard he's uncompromising, he's petulant, he's argumentative, and he's dismissive of opposing views. These are the very traits that Dick Wafer would have looked for in any gold medal debater. I accept that Mr. Trump has some less than savoury characteristics which have been pointed out. I don't intend defending all of them here. We've heard his views on women. All I will say is, I'm standing in one of the last bastions of male exclusivity. Castleknock has defied almost 200 years of societal progress and political correctness and kept its doors firmly shut to women. So maybe we won't be so preachy again, Mr. McGoldrick. Another area where Castleknock and Trump have a lot in common is our attitude to outsiders. We all know about Mr. Trump's view on immigrants, but Knock hasn't always been so welcoming of outsiders either. In fact, in the early years, Knock had a complete policy of exclusion towards unwanted refugees. Not dissimilar to the Mexican border, we built an enormous wall around the college to keep them out. From the outside looking in, we were fearful of these strange, mysterious creatures, or as they later came to be known, day pupils. In the early years, many of these poor local urchins would try to scale the wall. Some even posed as boarders while wearing uniforms and pretending to be crushies. But try as we may, we could not hold back the tide. And just as I was coming to the college in 1986, we eventually gave in and admitted the first wave of immigrant day boys. The initial cultural integration was very unsuccessful. The day boys were resentful of the high standards of living that us boarders enjoyed, our wonderful food and living quarters. We gave them something to aspire to. They worked hard with a drive that us lazy and entitlement-feeling boarders could never aspire to. Slowly but surely, all the top positions, prefects, school captain, rugby captain, academic gold medals, even debating gold medals, fell to these upstarts. Eventually things settled down and we, for a brief period, lived to learn to live in harmony. That didn't last long, and well, we all know what happened in repayment of our kindness. Within 10 short years of opening our doors, these foreigners slammed them shut in our faces, shutting them closed on 175 years of tradition. But one man was paying attention, and I can tell you, Donald Trump won't make the mistakes that we made in softening our stance on immigration. So that brings me to my conclusion, whether we could welcome a visit from Donald Trump. Knock is in terminal decline. Our best years are long past. We're the laughingstock of secondary education. We need a strong man. We need a leader. We need someone who can turn things around. We would welcome. No, we need, nay, we would crave a visit from Donald Trump to make Knock great again. Thank you.
Thank you, Myles. And our final speaker tonight, opposing the motion, is
thank you, Chairman, fellow debaters, Reverend Father, adjudicators. So it's important to, I think, acknowledge the adjudicators and while making, I think, reference to my esteemed colleague at the bar, Michael Collins, who I think you all know is one of the great advocates of our generation. I want to reserve the bulk of my sympathy for Mr. Wafer. As Myles said, despite varying success at the bar and in politics, the last time I think I spoke with real credibility was the All-Ireland final in 1986 when Mr. Wafer wrote my speech. I want to really thank him for agreeing to write tonight's speech as well. Now, one of the tips Dick would always give, particularly when you're speaking at the end, is that, and in particular when you're the last opposition speaker and no one can speak after you, you get a chance to pretty much roast everybody. So including people in the audience. So I do want to make a particular reference to our President of the Union, Conall Phelan, who's here, and acknowledge him and thank him for organising this event. Colin actually, as those of you know, ran on a campaign of making Knock great again to get elected as President. And one of the things he wanted to do was deal with rogue schools such as Gonzaga. And in fact, when you think back in the 80s, their only real threat to us was in chess. And then this year we had them beating us in the cup. But I think Colin dealt with that very well in a tweet which he issued, which he said, losing to Gonzaga, fake news, just terrible. I blame President Tiernan, or the previous past president, really bad, sick guy. So Colin there, I think, was giving that kind of, if you can get all of his tweets, if you go to his Twitter handle, @TheRealKermit. So actually, I shouldn't sign him off too much, because in the minutes, it's called the Terence O'Rourke Amendment to the Constitution. In the minutes, Colin is referred to as our dear leader. So he is doing a tremendous job. He has all of our meetings held at his favourite Southside hotel, Johnny Loughran's Sandymount Hotel, thanks to John Farrell. That hotel is not exactly Trump's Mar-a-Lago in Florida, but we call it Sandymount Sewer Dollar. It's the French sewer as opposed to the Victorian. Anyway, we need to turn to the motion now eventually, because I'm conscious that the bell is going to get rung diligently. That's been the case tonight. So why should we not welcome President Trump? And to be honest with you, I think if you think about it and are honest with yourself, it's because to welcome him would be fake. It wouldn't be the Irish thing to do. I think the world just needs people who are sometimes going to stand up and be real about what they feel and believe. And I think particularly when we listened to Jim, but with respect to speakers on the opposition, but even what was said on this side with some of the parodies, the guy's dangerous, he's a bully, he's racist, he's sexist, he's a homophobe. And why would you welcome a dangerous, racist, sexist, bully and a homophobe? Or as Robert De Niro called him, a dangerous schmuck. So, we're right to acknowledge the fact that he holds the office of President of America, and we're right to respect the values of America. But think of one of the real values we respect in America. It's freedom of speech. And freedom of speech means real freedom of speech. And that means being honest and saying what you really think. Not being fake about it. And I don't think we should live up to the caricature of a colonial country doffing the cap. And welcoming this guy would be doffing the cap. It would be the worst example of sort of begging your pardon, sir, and paying kind of a fake humility to the passing feudal lord, taking the feudal coin. I really think that would be the wrong, obsequious thing to do. We may be a small country, but we can say to the world the way it is and call it as it is. And if there's one thing Ireland, I think, is particularly renowned for, it's that we are great communicators. We have people who speak brilliantly, and it's because they speak honestly. If you just think of all of and they do it with humour, with style, but with passion, and it's honest. And you've seen great speaking here tonight, but think of the world-renowned great figures of literature that we have: Beckett, Joyce, Seamus Heaney, Brendan Behan, the list goes on, Samuel Beckett, World, George Bernard Shaw. They're actually the people who were quoted by the presidents who we did welcome when they came to Ireland. And it's because they were real, and that's something that I think we should be true to. It may not inspire or affect Trump, and I think that was one of the things, Al, you said in yours, will it make any difference to Trump? You're correct, it won't. But will it make, that's not really the question, will it make a difference to the rest of America? Will it make a difference to the rest of the world? And I say that it would. He's big, Trump is big, he's a big guy, big office. America's big, and the world is bigger. And however long he lives there, he won't be there forever. So, one of the things I think, as I was saying, Dick sort of says you do at the end is you do a bit of a sum up. I also want to refer to some of the things that we've said on this side. Cian, you heard from Cian McGoldrick. I think what needs to be said, you can see why he's one of 3 only 2-time winners of the Brady Medal. Fantastic. It's like winning kind of back-to-back masters in debating terms. Maybe I'm putting Knox Brady Medal a bit high there, but I think it's a fantastic speech in terms of what Cian said. Conall Phelan, my sense was, spoke softly but carried a big stick. So very effective, I thought. Jim, well, Jim, as we saw, I mean, Jim just didn't talk the talk, he walked the walk. But in actual fact, look at all the material Jim had, and you can be pretty sure he probably left out an awful lot. And yet, it's pretty devastating hearing what this guy actually thinks. Of course, it's also part of my role to refer to what was said by the speakers. I think I've mentioned something Al said. Shane, you talked about jobs and direct investment and don't bite the hand that feeds us. But I really do think that ultimately would be playing the small guy, caricature of reaching up looking for the coin that might come from the big guy. We don't need to do that. It's not us. We're bigger than that. And I want to turn to the team from Cork, Patrick and Myles. Patrick, you talked about him keeping his promises. Well, think about it. He attacked judges wrongly about their integrity before he was elected. He's kept up with that. He's kept doing that since. But I don't think that's a good thing. The wall, he hasn't kept that promise. He says America's now going to pay for it. He says Mexico will pay eventually. And he's even started saying now that he watches Netflix, he thinks a lot of these dangerous guys are actually coming in through tunnels. So I have just had a question about that. Myles talked about the 3 great jobs you can do. They're not really jobs if you speak, like politics, the law, and then being of ascension. And I suppose I'm sure I wouldn't be eligible for that last role. But I do think, just to conclude, it struck me coming back into the college and the statue of St. Vincent and going back to Gonzaga with Ignatius of Loyola. If we think of the patrons of these 2 colleges, if we're the Gonzaga of the North side to take that example, one of those men, Vincent and Ignatius of Loyola, they were men of action. They were men of honesty. They walked the walk. They stood up. And let's take inspiration of that. We're here tonight in Cassidy. Let's be inspired by those 2 men, and let's not welcome this guy. Oppose the motion.
Thank you, Oisin. Thank you very much. When we started, Colin gave me a piece of paper with timings for everything that happens tonight, and we are actually 2 minutes ahead of that. We're virtually bang on time, so we have some time for questions, statements, not statements that aren't too long, please, if you can, as our 2 judges, Michael Collins and Dick Wafer, retire to consider their, I can say verdict, you don't call it a verdict, do you, Michael?
Sentence.
But I think what we've heard tonight just illustrates what I was saying at the opening about how important these skills are. I think we've heard some phenomenal speakers this evening. Please give them both teams a round.
Dick Wafer, who really has been an outstanding